What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rant Review Pro Wrestling. It is 2022's year in review video week. Counting down all the stuff, looking at all the stuff. We're not really counting them down. I'm just listing my favorites because I don't like countdowns. But, well, actually, I like watching countdowns. I don't like making them. That being said, I am going to enjoy now looking back at this year, and in particular looking at Wrestler of the Year. And we're going to split this up into two different categories, and I wanted to do this year just because I think these are two different things, even though I think some people kind of conflate them together and then weigh one more than the other one. But Wrestler of the Year, I'm looking at more as the in-ring performance. Who is the best in-ring performer of the year, as opposed to Superstar of the Year, which is about performance of a different kind. It's about the promo performance, about the presence, the star power, how much they have, how much charisma they have. Those two things can be in the same person. It is a very rare thing where you get somebody who gets both of those and is at the top of their game in both of those. But we're going to talk about it here in this video. And let's start with somebody who, gets a little upset about this, as I've seen from interviews at times. But Seth Rollins had a phenomenal year. His match with Roman Reigns and that weird ending that it had back at the Royal Rumble was a thing. But his feud with Cody this year was fantastic. His feud with Matt Riddle was fantastic. And yes, Seth Rollins is quite known for using a lot of the moves of people who he kind of dismisses as not being very important. But hey, at the end of the day, he actually is a very talented in-ring wrestler, no matter what his personality may be like. If you're grates on your nerves or not, even his character now is grating on the nerves, which actually works extremely well. So Seth Rollins definitely, as far as in-ring performers, definitely in the running for Wrestler of the Year. Jon Moxley's going to show up on this list for a number of reasons. I mean, he grinds it out. And a style of wrestling that usually doesn't get considered for like in-ring technical work, and that's usually what gets like in-ring Wrestler of the Year kind of awards. But Moxley brought this kind of brawling mentality mixed with a lot of grappling and this kind of no-nonsense attitude, and he makes it work very, very well in AEW. In fact, he makes it work so well that he's even now gone as far as to help younger wrestlers get over, whether it's Wheeler Yuta or Takeshita or whoever it is. He will go in there and work with these young guys, and they will come out at the other side of that match looking like stars. And that's something that Moxley has done and other people have done in AEW as well. But Mox, when it came time and they needed somebody to step in when Punk went down both times, they called Moxley, and Moxley was there to fill in, and he was there to carry the torch for AEW just as he did in the pandemic era. So I definitely would consider, for various reasons, Jon Moxley to be an in-ring pro wrestler of the year. I'd also add Bianca Belair to the list of Wrestler of the Year. I had some outstanding matches at the beginning of the year with Becky Lynch. She's been phenomenal as the Raw Women's Champion, has carried herself as a champion, and really has gotten that EST thing over with. Just seeing her come up, another one of these successful NXT stories that, managed to break through that barrier that sometimes comes from the old NXT guard when they came up to the main roster before Triple H was there. They just had a hard time translating over for whatever reason. And I'm going to give an honorable mention to Jay White, because in particular during the G1 tournament, Jay White he was at this point where he was turning some matches that normally probably wouldn't have been great into some pretty good gems to find during the G1 tournament. Again, as always, every year, you're going to find some of the best matches of the year in the G1 tournament. And he managed to make matches with the Great Okan very interesting. He managed to make matches with a lot of guys that weren't top tier guys in New Japan, but make it look like they may have had a chance of pulling the upset over him. And that is a talent and a skill to be able to do that, especially when, again, logically as a fan, you're like, there's no way, the Great Okan is beating Jay White. But wouldn't it be cool if he did? Because that would do X, Y, and Z, and Jay White might not win the tournament. So somebody's going to have to get the upset win over him. So you were watching all these matches playing off of that. Who was going to get the upset win over Jay White to knock him out of the semifinals? But we're going to cut to the chase here. And of course, you guys can always add who you would think is on the Wrestler of the Year list down in the description box below. But my pick for Wrestler of the Year in 2022 is going to be Will Ospreay. I know some people are going to like that. Some people are going to disagree with that. But as I mentioned before, Ospreay has done things in the ring this year that I'm amazed that a human can actually do the things that he does. His timing is exquisite, especially when you put him in there with other wrestlers who have great timing, like a Zack Sabre Jr. or a Kazuchika Okada or a Tetsuya Naito, and you're going to get magic in a Will Ospreay match. The early part of the year, he had this kind of thing where he was like, quote unquote, getting cheated out of matches because refs would call a match too early or whatever. That was a running gag for a while for the first part of this year. And then he got deadly serious around the summertime. And we even got a little hint about him possibly wanting to go after Jay White as he was looking at the IWGP Championship in one of the very few Ospreay on one side, United Empire, Jay White on the opposite side for Bullet Club matches between the two guys. So Ospreay now leading into probably one of the biggest matches of his career on January 4th against Kenny Omega. Ospreay now the defending Gaijin in New Japan, fighting the former Gaijin superstar in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Really cool storyline. So Will Ospreay is my pick for Pro Wrestler of the Year. Now we're going to talk about the Superstar of the Year. And like I said before, that's a little bit different for me than Wrestler of the Year. This is more about the star power and the charisma. And there are a lot of people that you could have put on the list. I would also say Seth Rollins could also be on this list. Cody Rhodes definitely, with just finding the right promotion for him to do his shtick in. He got over it with a crowd that would get over with the kind of stuff that he does. So I thought that was probably one of the coolest things of the year, the star power for him. Sasha Banks is another one you might want to consider. But as far as the biggest superstars of 2022, there are a couple names that come to mind. One of them is obviously going to be MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He took another step into, we all know what Max is going to be. He's going to be one of the greatest of all time, and we're watching it as in its beginning phases as he's getting to that legendary status. There's just some people that are just like that. And MJF knows it, unfortunately, and is obnoxious about it. But he has taken that mantle that other guys have had before, like Kenny Omega's and AJ Styles. He is now the biggest superstar outside of WWE in the wrestling world. And he might even be a bigger superstar than I would say 99% of guys in WWE are, to be honest with you. Which leads me to the other guy that is in the running for Superstar of the Year. And that is, of course, the Tribal Chief. Let's acknowledge him, Roman Reigns. I've mentioned this in other videos about Jay White in New Japan, kind of finally grew into the star they kept telling us he was. The very few people believed he was back then, and now he is. Same thing with Roman Reigns. Over the last 2 years, you know, since he teamed up with Heyman, this whole big long run as the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, which is setting records that might not ever get broken for another 10 or 20 years. Proof that if you just keep doing it long enough, sometimes some things will work because they've just piled so much on. And at this point, you're just kind of like, well, you know, he's done a lot of stuff now. So yeah, he is the best. He is what you said he was. And, you know, 5 years ago, you would have caught a lot of people saying this, but Roman Reigns is the biggest star in pro wrestling. And for that reason, I'm going to have to say in 2022, as far as the biggest superstar of 2022, it's absolutely got to be Roman Reigns. And again, that is saying something, given about 5, 6, 7 years ago, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody in this arena of the wrestling world to actually say anything about Roman Reigns being the best or number one at anything. So that just shows you never know. But these are just my opinions. I want to know your opinions. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Who did you think was the best in-ring performer, the best pro wrestler of 2022? And who did you think was the best sports entertainer, the best superstar of 2022? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys here as we continue to count down 2022. And remember, Thursday evening, we will be having a live stream. It will be another tier list that we will be talking about the biggest stories and ranking the biggest stories of 2022 in pro wrestling and sports entertainment. So check that out. Hit the notification bell so you know when that's live. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more countdowns here on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.